Objects may require right, left, front, or rear auxiliary sections, or broken out, revolved, or removed sections on an auxiliary plane. The construction of sectional views is a convention which makes the drawing clear. Other conventional practices have the same objective, to make the drawing easier to read. For example, in constructing sectional views, do not crosshatch small parts which have no interior detail, but show them full, as if the cutting plane did not pass through them. Apply this rule to shafts, to bolts and nuts, rods and rivets, to keys, and so forth. Following another conventional practice, do not show invisible lines on a sectional view because they would confuse the drawing. Omit them unless they're absolutely necessary to describe the shape of the object. This drawing illustrates other conventional practices in crosshatching. Notice that adjacent pieces should be crosshatched in opposite directions, as you see here. Notice that crosshatching should be the same here and here, because each side of the gear is part of the same piece. Notice also the crosshatching here, and then observe that if a broken out section were made here, the crosshatching would be the same in this view, because these flanges are parts of the same pieces shown in the front view. In other words, cross-hatching for the same piece should be the same, whether in one view or in different views. Besides those you've seen, there are other conventional practices, and these apply to both sectional and full views. For example, there are times when you give a misleading impression if you follow the rules of projection strictly. Take this hand wheel. It is symmetrical. Yet true projection of the side view would make you think that the arms were unevenly spaced. Therefore, construct the side view as if the arm were revolved or aligned. You know that this conventional representation of the side view is not a true picture, but it gives a truer impression of the symmetrical shape of the object. Apply the same rule to sectional views for this kind of object. Think of the cutting plane passing through the object, as usual, to make a section. And imagine part of the wheel as removed. But when you make the drawing, violate the strict rules of projection and show the arm as if it were revolved or aligned. Do not crosshatch either arm on the sectional view, though other parts should be crosshatched as usual. You should follow the same convention in representing the holes in a drilled flange, because symmetry is also a factor here. You will naturally make a sectional view. But even so, true projection would show most of the holes by dotted lines in positions which give a misleading effect. It is better practice to show the holes at their true radial distance, as if they were swung around into the plane of the section before they were projected. Apply a similar convention when you want to represent ribs or webs in sectional view. In making the section, you discover that a true sectional view would show no distinction between the ribs and the rest of the piece, giving the impression that the ribs are thick. You cannot avoid this difficulty by passing the cutting plane through the object at another angle, because the ribs would then appear foreshortened cutting away the front part of the object. But then on the drawing, omit the cross-hatching of the ribs, as if the cutting plane had passed in front of them. This view, together with the top view, gives a good impression of the shape and thickness of the ribs. In studying these and other conventions, remember the principles you have learned so far. An imaginary cutting away of the object reveals interior details and makes the drawing easier to read. Only those parts are cross-hatched through which the cutting plane passes. Since the cut is imaginary, no edge is indicated between the sectional and exterior portions of the view, because the object is still round and full. Besides full and half sections, other sectional views can be made. Broken out sections, revolved sections, removed sections, and auxiliary sections. And then, in adopting conventional practices, remember the words of the late Professor French, who said, "One statement may be made with the force of a rule. If anything in clearness can be gained by violating a principle of projection, violate it."
That's intense.
Are they in the book?